day 3 of Selenium tutorial that we are kind of practicing. So I am sharing my screen now. Let me know once it is visible. Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can anyone confirm if it is visible, my screen?
Yes, visible.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So we will get started. In today's session, as I mentioned in the Telegram channel as well, that we would be covering two, three topics today. One is related to multiple window handling. Second one is action class, and third one is robo class. Okay, so we will see one by one each of them. We will start with how do we handle multiple windows. Uh, okay, so let me first create one class for day 3. Day 3 multiple windows. Okay, just a minute. So basically what happens here, why do we need to manage this multiple windows is that there have been instances where you click on a particular link or you click on a particular button, and a separate window or a separate tab opens up in the same browser window, right? We all have seen that, isn't it? So when a separate tab opens up, we need to tell Selenium which tab or which window we want to interact with. Okay, because now that there are multiple windows opened up by the automation script, we need to be specific on which window we need to perform the operation that we are intending to do, right? So now we will see how those scenarios come up and how do we handle each of them. Okay, so we will start with initializing the web driver. I hope now by now you all are well versed with this. Okay, so web driver equal to new Chrome driver, then system dot set property web driver dot chrome dot driver, and here you will mention the path. Okay, so path, last session we had seen that instead of giving a hard coded some local drive path, what we can do is we can add that chrome driver in our project itself, and then we can use this thing wherein we can mention string path, which is nothing but the root path of this particular project, system dot get property. Here we will mention user dot directory, right? So it will give us the root path of this particular project, meaning this particular project Selenium tutorial. And then I just have to mention path, right, plus in double quotes the subfolder or the folder inside this particular project. So it would be src, then drivers, and then chrome driver.exe. Okay, so this we have already seen in our last session, so by now I think you all should be well versed with this. uh, okay, I have to import certain packages, so it would be import uh, for WebDriver, I think it is org dot openqa, yeah, openqa dot selenium, sorry, dot WebDriver, right? And, and import Chrome driver. Okay, so we are good, good with this. Then I would say driver dot window, manage dot window dot maximize, right? So this is all repeat stuff, right? So I need not explain this again. And there, then we are going to launch or basically navigate to a particular URL to practice this particular topic, which is handling multiple windows. So then there is this website. Let me open up that. Uh, it goes with like demoqa.com. Yeah, demoqa, and we have something called as browser hyphen windows. Okay, so we will first see this. Yeah. So this particular page, as you can see, it has one tab, oh sorry, one button, which basically if you click, it is going to launch a new tab in the same window. Okay. The other one would be, if you click on it, it will open a new window on a separate, uh, I mean not in a different tab, but a new window itself. And then this is a kind of a window message, again a separate, uh, a window kind of a thing that comes up. Okay, so we are going to practice these 2 3 buttons, and we will see how do we navigate to different tabs or a different window that gets opened up, and then how do we fall back to the parent window itself. Okay, so we will see this one by one. Okay, I think, yeah, okay, recording is on. Sure. So then now let's navigate to this URL first. Okay. Let me run this for now, and then we will take it ahead. Okay. So we have this. Now I have to click on this button, isn't it? So what I'm basically going to do is I'm to I'm going to inspect this particular element, right? And I think this particular ID should be unique. So let me first try this. Button ID equal to, okay, yeah, this seems to be unique. So what I'll do is I will mention driver dot find element by dot ID. I will mention the ID of it, and I will say dot click. Okay, so what will happen is that when I click on this particular tab, this particular new tab gets opened up. Okay, now I need to first of all inform Selenium, or basically tell Selenium that I have to interact with this particular tab now. Okay, and when my task for this particular tab is done, I have to go back to the parent window and do whatever operations that I want to. Okay, so now we will see how we can manage this. So now for every window that gets opened up using the automation script, there is a specific unique window handle ID that gets generated, and this window handle ID is always unique. So now for example, I have opened this window now here, right? So maybe the window ID for this particular window would be, let's say for example, 1234. Okay, and for the second tab which I have opened up, it might be 5678. Okay, so now with this unique window handle ID value, I would be switching to these different windows that I want to traverse. And this window ID would be always unique for each session. Meaning if I close this and if I open the same URL again, the window handle for this particular browser may be different this time. It may not be 1234, it might be something 789 or whatever. Okay, so but the point is, for every session each window would have a unique window handle ID, and using this we would be switching to different windows and doing the various operations that we want to perform. All right, so let's see how do I get the window handle ID for the parent window in the first place. So before I click on this new tab, and before this new tab gets opened up, what I will do is I will first get the window handle ID of the parent browser. So there is this method, as you can see here, it says get window handle, and what does it return? It returns me a string value. Okay, so I will say driver dot get window handle. It returns a string value, so I will store it in a string variable. So string, and I would say parent window. Okay, so this is my parent window handle ID reference, so that I can come back to this particular parent window after my interaction with the child window gets completed. Okay, so I've stored this particular value first, then I have clicked on this particular tab or a particular button that would now open a new tab for me, correct? Now what I'll do is, and before that, by the way, what I can do, just for example, I would say I want to print driver dot get current URL. Okay, so that we understand on which particular window my the Selenium's focus is at the moment. So I would say parent window URL. Okay, so this is nothing but it is going to print me the URL of the parent window. All right, then it would click on this new tab button. Fine, and then I need to traverse through the child window. Okay, so now I would say after I click on this, uh, let me say driver dot get window handles. So just like how we have find element and find elements, two method, right? Similarly here there are two methods, get window handle. So basically it will return you the window handle ID of the current browser, and get window handles would return you the window handle ID of all the browsers or all the windows that have been opened by the automation script for that particular session. Okay, so now that we have two windows opened up, I will get two window handle ID which would be stored in a set. Okay, again, if you remember the Java collection framework session that we had, right? So this would be used here. Okay, now that it is returning me a set object, or set which is a string value, I would store it in a set string and I would name it as child windows. Okay, and import set, obviously. Okay, any questions so far, guys? What I'm trying to do? Okay, if not, now what will happen is that all those window handle ID of all the windows that are opened would be stored in this particular object child windows. Okay, now I have to iterate through all of them, those IDs inside this particular child windows. Okay, so now there is an option called as or there is a class called as iterator, which helps me to iterate through or traverse through this set kind of object. Okay, so again, iterator, which is going to iterate through all the string values that are stored inside this child window. Okay, I would name it as IT, okay, which means iterator, and I would say child windows, okay, dot iterator. So what it is going to do is it is going to return me an iterator of string, right? So I'm going to use that, and next what I'll do is, so I will basically get all those iterations stored in this particular object, and I would say while IT dot has next, meaning there is something next to be iterated. Until there is something next to be iterated, what I need to do here is, okay, so I would say I would now store that particular window handle ID in this particular string value. Okay, I would say ch window. Okay, and I would say it dot next. Okay, so the first iteration that would happen, it would store that value in this particular variable ch window. Okay. Now it might be possible that it might consider the parent window as one, and it would return you the window handle ID of this, right? So I don't want to interact with the parent window at the moment. So what I would say is, if we already have the parent window handle ID stored over here, right? So I would say if not equal to, so it is not parent window dot equals ignore case, so it will ignore any case that might come, and child window, if the parent window does not equals child window, okay, only then do what? Then driver dot switch to dot window, and what should be the value mentioned here is the window handle ID of the child object, right? And it will iterate, I mean, it will switch to that particular window. Okay. And then whatever operations that I want to perform in the child window, I can do. Okay. So for example, here we don't have anything, it is just a sample page. So what I would rather show here is I would just probably get the URL of the child window now. Okay. So I would say driver dot get current URL. Okay. So it has picked up the value of the child window URL. Okay. And then if my task is done, okay, I can come out of this and I would say driver dot switch to dot window, and I can say parent window in this case. Okay, so now whatever operation that I wanted to perform on the second tab or the child window tab, I would do. In this case, I am simply just getting the current URL for the child window, and then I would fall back to my parent window with the parent window handle ID which we have already stored at the beginning. Okay, and then I would say whatever driver sys out back to parent window, right? And I might as well close the child window first, and then I would also close the parent window. Okay, so let's see if this works. If you have any questions, I will explain again. But first, let us see if this code works. Okay, so let me close this. And for handling synchronization, let me put some wait here. Okay, after this, I would say thread dot sleep for 5,000 seconds. All right, and I would do the same over here. Okay, add throw declaration, and I think let me zoom in the code before somebody asks me to do that. Zoom in. Okay, I hope this is visible and clear. Okay, so all set, and let me trigger. Okay, so the browser has been launched, maximized. We have navigated to the URL. It is waiting for the page to load. It has clicked on that button. A new tab has come up. The second tab has been closed first, and the parent window has also been closed, right? So it has worked perfectly fine the way we wanted. And let us see whether it has printed what we want. So first, it has printed the window of the parent URL, the URL of the parent window. Okay. Then it has navigated to the child window and it has printed you the URL of the child window. It has closed the child window first, right? And then it has printed, oh, okay, spelling mistake. So basically I wanted to print back to parent window. So this has also been printed. and then finally it has closed the parent window also. Okay, so any question guys so far? Anyone can unmute and ask.
Rahul,
Yes.
whenever we simply open this www.naukri.com, na, so that time belong with Naukri, four web page will be open.
You're saying Naukri.com?
Yeah,
Okay.
incognito you type naukri.com.
Incognito. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Sanjay.
You can copy this URL and you can execute using our script. So that time it will be so.
No, but then which link should I click so that a new window comes up?
No, nothing you can click. You can copy only for this simple URL.
Okay.
Okay. And whenever we execute our script, so that time along with this Naukri homepage,
Uh-huh.
three more Windows tab will be open.
But where are those three windows? I mean, I did not understand.
Actually, he wants to run that automation script, like just not
Yeah.
get window handles, just copy the website link and paste it into the get
Okay,
and
sure.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. We will see that. But before that, any questions on the current example that we saw, like just for to understand what this window handle is? Anybody has a question on this? So what I've done is, again, just to explain very
Um,
quickly. Yeah, somebody had a question.
Rahul, actually, iterator is using, right?
Yeah.
Iterator string. Can you explain once again?
Okay. So if there is anything like any object which has multiple values stored in it, like this in this case, get window handles has basically stored multiple window handle ID, right? And since it is
Right.
returning a set of string, I have stored it in a set of string object. Okay. So now
Okay.
inside this particular object, there are multiple values that are stored, isn't it? A window handle ID for the parent and the child. So if I have to iterate through such kind of an objects, there is an iterator class that is available in Java, which would help us to iterate through each of those values inside that object. So iterator, what is the value that I want to iterate? It is a string value, right? If it was an integer value, it would have been int over here. Okay, but it is a
Okay.
string, that is why it is a iterator string. I've created an iterator object called as it. Okay, you can name it whatever you want. And
Okay.
what you want to iterate?
Okay.
You want to iterate through child windows object that you have created. So it is child windows dot iterator. Okay. So now what iterator does is that it has a method called as has next. So what it does, it is basically it returns either true or false. Okay. So now
Okay.
that there are two values, okay, so first one, it would say it has next, it has something a value that is next available. Okay. So it dot has next would return true in the first place. Okay. And I want to iterate
Okay.
that until that it dot has next returns false. So there is nothing more to iterate. Okay. So that is why I have used this while loop, which would
Okay.
execute until it has something to iterate next. Okay, so that is what this while statement does. And then what I would do next is, in this particular iterator object, I will get the value of the next iterator, which is nothing but the window handle ID, and I will
Okay.
store it in this particular string variable. Okay, again, the variable name can be anything. So now after this, what I'm doing is I'm checking whether the parent window and the child window handle ID that has been now iterated, it does not match. Okay, if it does not match, meaning it belongs to the child window or the child browser that we have opened up. Okay, so if
Okay.
it belongs to the child window, what I need to do is I need to switch to that particular window using the window child window handle ID which we have now iterated. Okay, so it will switch to that child window. Then you can perform whatever operations you want to perform in the child window, and then you can close the child window browser, and this will continue as long as how many windows that are there available. And then finally you can again navigate to or switch to your parent window, and then you can close the parent window also. Okay, so
Okay.
this is what this particular code does.
In this, can we use for loop for iteration?
No, for loop will not work. For loop will not work because this particular object would not allow you to use for loop. But you can still give it a try. But iterator is something that is more accurately used for this particular scenario.
Okay, okay.
And for each loop will go.
Uh, I doubt. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. For string uh, string s of child windows. Okay, and here I would say, let's see. Okay, s dot get, no, uh, let's try this. Okay, even I have not tried, but mm, okay, let's see what happens here in this particular statement. Okay, and then we will also see that naukri.com, whatever that question is. Let's see. Debug. It has clicked on that button. Okay, so now it has come here. Let us see if I add it to watch. Okay, okay. I think it works with for each also, because it is iterating through that. Okay, now I can do the same thing, I believe. Let me check.
That, that whole logic we can
Yeah,
copy and
yeah,
paste
yeah,
it.
yeah. I think whoever asked this question, thank you. I think this is also an option. So I would say S. Hmm. Okay, instead of iterator, for each should also work. My bad. Okay. Okay. For, yeah. Okay. Let's run this without debug and see if it works. Guys, actually, I'm traveling today, so I've connected through my mobile hotspot. Okay, so in case there is any network issue, just be patient. I'll try to connect with some other. But as of now, it is working fine. So just giving you a heads up. Okay, so now this has been launched. Page is yet to load. New window has been opened up. I think it is working fine, perfectly fine. Let's see the console. Yeah, it it has worked. It has worked fine. So first it has launched the parent browser. It has extracted the URL. This is the parent browser window handle ID. This is the child window handle ID. It has extracted the child window URL. It has closed the child window and it has again come back to the parent window, printed this particular message, and it has clicked, I mean, it has closed the parent browser also. So yes, thank you for asking. This particular thing works without iterator also, because yes, for each also iterates through basically that object, right? So it works fine. Okay.
Thank you, Rahul.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So
Yeah, Rahul here. I just want to know, like, what can be the significance of using for each loop instead of while? Is there any like benefits?
sorry.
What actually the benefits we get if we use for loop instead of while loop? So, is there any execution faster or something like benefits we get there?
Uh, Benefits of faster execution, I am not really aware, but I think for loop, for each loop and while loop, basically works the same way in one sense, because here what we were doing is, in this particular scenario at least, we were checking whether it is there. Is there any value inside that iterator object to move next or not? And for each loop also does the same thing. So I think that question which whoever asked was valid, and it did not strike me earlier, because the for each loop also invariably would iterate through all the elements that are there in, or all the values that are there inside that particular object. So you may either use for each loop or you can use this while loop to do the same thing. But for while here, you may have to use this iterator so that you can check whether there is any value to be iterated or not. The execution speed wise, I think more or less it should work the same way, unless something that I am not aware of. But yeah, logic wise, for each and this while with the iterator is working perfectly the same way. Okay, so somebody wanted me to open that Naukri.com, right? So let's see.
Before that, Rahul, one can I ask one question?
Sure, sure,
One
sure,
question.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So this thing, as we saw, it works. So I just have one question regarding the iterator class. Iterator class, that were the way we used it.
Yeah,
Uh, it was used like an array list. Is that right?
it
Like
was used as array list. No, array list is a different class altogether, and iterator is also a different. It is not the same.
I
it's not
think
the same.
an iterator is interface, not class.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So iterator is actually used to check whether there is any other value that it can be iterated or traversed through it. Array list doesn't do the same thing.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, so I think Sanjay wanted me to launch this Naukri.com, right? So let's see this.
Yeah, I shared this URL also.
Sorry, URL
Yeah,
on the chat.
you can. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I think the same thing, right? HTTPS www. Okay, www. Okay. And what do you want me to do? Because you don't want me to click on any button, right? You said.
yes. You
Okay.
can comment. You can comment over the remaining code.
Okay. So then what next? I mean, like, after I launch. Okay, let's see.
Rahul, actually, it might be why we are getting three instance, as Sanjay is saying. Might be we have already opened on some other browsers the same thing. So due to cookies, might be we might get the three instances. Not sure, but we'll check.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the parent window. Sanjay, what do you want me to do? Driver dot get window handles, something like this.
Yes, Rahul.
No, it is storing only one window handle ID. There is only one index 0. There are no three window handle ID I can see. Sanjay?
Can you re-execute? Can you re-execute?
Yeah. But Sanjay, I think I have few more topics to cover. Let's execute once more since you are insisting. But
Yeah, yeah, sure.
yeah, if you have anything specific, then probably we'll connect
Because,
later.
I'm facing this issue.
Acha. I think you're trying to automate applying job for all companies, is it? Something like
No, 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 Rahul.
that. Okay, just joking here. Okay. No, yeah. Same stuff. Only one index with one window handle ID. We will see that later, probably Sanjay, tomorrow morning, if you want to connect with me, we will see.
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, sure,
just
Rahul, sure.
message me. You have my number on WhatsApp. We will connect. Okay.
No, no,
S-
I don't have your number.
Uh, okay, I'll share. I think I had shared my number. I think yes, last session or maybe before that. We will connect if you want. Okay.
Okay, I can message you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah. LinkedIn also is fine. Okay, so multiple windows I think is completed. There are few more stuff that you can check. By the way, this was about new tab. You can click on this new window button and you can do the same stuff. Okay, I mean it works exactly the same way. Okay, so get window handles and then you use the for each loop or the iterator. You navigate to the child window, do whatever operations you want to perform on the child window, and fall back to the parent window. Okay, so I'm not going to go through each of these buttons because it is a little time consuming, but you can use this URL which you see on your screen and you can practice it at your convenience. Okay, so now next what we will see is something called as action class. Okay, so what is action class? How do we perform action class related methods? We will see that now. So for now, whatever operations that we have performed, right? Like for example, dot click or dot send keys, clicking on a button or a radio button link, it works fine with this dot click, right? Then also sending keys or sending text value using dot send keys method also works fine on an edit box or whatever. We have also seen how to select values from a drop down using those select class object, right? So these are simple stuff that we can perform using this WebDriver methods that we have seen so far. But there are certain complex operations that we perform, and we may need some help apart from these specific method that we just mentioned. Something like, let's say if you want to double click a particular object, or if you want to right click a particular object, okay, or if you want to hover your mouse on a particular element, there are certain menus. You don't have to click on it, you just have to take your cursor over there, hover your cursor over that particular element, and then you will see some sub menus that appear below it, right?
Tooltip. Yeah.
Yeah, tooltip also is another thing. Yeah, and then there is also something called as drag and drop. If there is anything that you want to perform, you have to click on a particular object, drag it to your destination location, and then drop it over there. So for all of this, this particular simple dot click dot send keys will not work using this web driver. Okay, so to make use of or to work on such kind of scenarios, we have this something called as action class. Okay, so let me create this new class first so that we can see this thing, action. Okay, and let me quickly copy this basic stuff. So I hope you understood, right? Why do we need action class first? Because some of the operation that we want to perform, the complex one, may not be possible using, dot click or dot send keys or whatever. Okay. So for this, again, there is this one URL which I have made a note. Let me just see what it is. It is, okay, one second. Yeah, HTTPS demo QA. Yeah, demoqa.com/buttons. Okay, this is the URL which we want to launch, and I'll first show you what we are planning to do, and then we will write the automation code for it. Okay, so this is the URL. Okay, so there are these three buttons. Okay, double click. So if you double click on it, if you successfully double click on it, you should get this particular message. You have done a double click. Okay, if you want to right click, so if you, let's say if you right click this particular button, okay, you should get a message. You don't see any options when you right click on this because this is a dummy button. But if you successfully right click on it, you should get a message saying that you have done a right click. Okay, and then this is a normal click me button which works the way normally it does. Okay, so we will see this, and we will see how we can double click or right click on all those kind of stuff. Okay, so first of all, for double clicking, I need to identify this object which has a unique attribute. I think this is the ID, which should work fine. Okay, so I would say driver dot find element by dot ID, and I would mention this. Okay, so ideally what you would do is you would do dot click, right? But there is no option to, you know mention how do I double click on it, correct? So for that, I have to make use of actions class. Okay, so for that, I have to mention actions, and I would say act equal to new actions. Okay, and this would take driver object as its input parameter. Okay, and let me import this. I don't know why sometimes this works, sometimes I have to
Control Shift O.
control shift O.
Yes.
Thank you, yaar. Thank you. You saved a lot of my time. Thank you so much. So Control Shift O would work to importing the packages which you want. Okay. So now what I've done is I've basically created an object of this action class, and it accepts this WebDriver object as its input parameter. And then what I would do is I would use this object to access multiple methods that it offers for us to use. So for example, you see over here something called as double click. Okay, and double click as an input parameter, it accepts a web element object, the target which we want to click, right? So I would make use of this double click, and then I would mention this object driver.find element by.id double click button as the value that I want to double click, and then I would say dot perform. Okay, so this is the way you can make use of action class object and perform or use the methods which is available inside that action class, and using this dot perform, it will be executed. It would perform that particular task for you. Okay, so now we will see whether this works fine. Okay, uh yeah. Okay, so this URL has been launched. Just waiting for the page to load. And you see it has double clicked on it, and you have got this message which says you have done a double click. Okay, so you won't get this message if you do a simple click, by the way. Okay, so only if the script actually double clicks you would get this particular message, right? So again, what we have done is we have simply created an object of this actions class. Okay, we have provided our driver instance over here, and then using this particular object I have accessed this method called as double click, which accepts an input parameter which is nothing but a web element where we want to double click. So web element is identified by this driver.find element method, right? And then I would use this dot perform method so that this particular task gets performed. Okay, so if I don't use dot perform, nothing would happen, no, nothing would get executed. Okay, so this dot perform is important for you to make use of this action method that you have used. Okay, similarly, if I want to right click something, then there we have something called as context click. Okay, context click. So I would use this context click driver dot find element by dot id. Okay, and then I would say perform. All right, and I have to just now mention the attribute of this second button which is used for right clicking. Okay, so I would say, let me inspect this. I will click on it, take this button here, and it says this is the id, which is again unique. So I would just pass this value over here. Fine, and let me re-execute. So you have double clicked and you have also right clicked. Okay, so let us see, we have got this message. Yeah, so you have done a right click also. Okay, so the right click also works fine using the dot context click method, and double click works fine with the double click method. Okay, very simple, nothing nothing extraordinary. But these methods, since they are not available, as a normal method, using the WebDriver thing, so that is why we have to use this actions. You have to pass the driver instance over there, and then using that actions object you can perform those other methods that you want to perform. Okay, any questions so far before we move to drag and drop and some other stuff?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, me here.
Yes, Mihir.
Uh, yeah. So can we scroll down the page through actions class?
Yes, I think scroll stuff is also there if I'm not wrong. Yeah, scroll to element, it is there.
Okay.
So here,
Because a
here again you,
message is getting displayed, right, like is getting hide due to some ad.
yeah.
Yeah, due to
So let's try this. Okay, let's see. I think this should work because there is this method. Okay, so let's see. Right click message, right? Okay. Driver dot find uh, by dot id. Okay, perform. Okay, so scroll to element is the method basically which should scroll that particular page either horizontal or vertical until this particular element is visible. Okay, that is what I understand, but let's see. uh, yeah, let me close this.
I have some few more questions, but that I will ask later on.
Sure, Mir. I was missing your questions. I thought you didn't join today.
No, no, no.
Okay. Okay, scroll didn't work, huh? Scroll didn't work. Why? I mean, it has not given any error. I don't know why it has not scrolled. Uh,
We need to
Let's check
mention the
it.
coordinate. Uh,
no.
Ram.
No, I think
Uh, One second. What I'll do is let me let me try this. Okay. If this works, then I'll probably have an answer why it didn't work for that object.
uh, I think is there any other method like scroll to page or something?
Mm, I don't know,
So
buddy.
we can try that thing also. Like if scroll to element is not
Okay.
available or not, I am not sure. That
S-
scroll to page or something.
Scroll by amount, scroll from origin, scroll to element. I am not sure of what these two other methods are. I am aware of the scroll to element.
Yeah, generally that.
Yeah, let me see if this thing works. Okay, just give me 1 minute. By
Yeah, yeah.
dot xpath. Mm, okay. So what I've done is actually I have given one object to scroll down to, this one widgets, okay, with the X path. So ideally it should scroll down and ideally, I don't know if this works, but let's see.
I think that part also must be working. Ideally, we have to wait that thought sleep. I think.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Hmm.
Actually, I'm finding the job since many.
Array, I'm getting messages on LinkedIn majority to help them search a job here. I myself am searching for a job. You all must be. Yeah, so see, now this has scrolled down, right? Here, so what I understand is,
Yeah.
yeah, so what I understand is that since this particular message, although it is hidden, okay, so because of this stupid ad, although this is hidden,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
page need not scroll down, right? Because it is still actually within the view of this particular page. Okay, so it did not really had to scroll down because this is one ad that is kind of overlapping this particular object. Okay, so the Selenium may not be aware that this particular ad is, kind of overlapping the object that is actually visible on the screen. So that is why it did not scroll
Okay.
down for whatever reason, because it had Selenium thought that this particular object is already visible, then why it should even scroll. But the moment I gave an object like this widgets, which was obviously not
Yeah.
visible in this particular first view, so then automatically it scrolled down and I was able to see this
Yeah.
widget element over there. Okay, so that is why I think the scroll to element did not
Okay.
work in the first instance, but for the second one it did work.
Okay. So like code is right, but due to some like add,
Yeah,
this
then I
will
think
not work.
then I think we have to find a workaround if there is something like this in real scenarios.
Yeah, yes, yes,
So I
yes.
think other way around would be in this particular case is that workaround would be that you may have to find out some object which is a little down so that the page would scroll down and you can see that particular element. That is what one workaround
Okay,
I can think of, right? So
okay,
yeah,
okay, okay.
yes.
Will it work without the thread dot sleep?
Yeah, I think it should
At the
work.
end
Yeah,
of
yeah,
session.
yeah. I think it should work. Thread.sleep was not the issue in the first instance also. Let's see. Yeah, so without waiting also, it has immediately scrolled down to the object which I have asked it to scroll, this widget. Okay. So thread.sleep was not the issue. It was the issue of this particular ad that is kind of blocking the view. But the element is actually in view. So that is why I did not scroll anywhere for this particular element. Okay. So
And exceptionality was not.
yeah. So let's quickly cover two more. At least I want to cover the action class today. I don't think robo class would be possible because we are already over time. But I wanted to show you mouse hover and drag and drop. Okay, drag and drop is quite interesting. I will show you that. Uh, Let me comment this out and let me navigate to some other URL where I can perform this drag and drop. Okay. So again, I have made a note of this URL where I can do this drag and drop. Okay, droppable. Okay, okay, copy, paste it. Okay, so here as you can see, there are two objects. One is the drag, and this is the place where I have to drop. Okay, so manually you right click that particular mouse on that object, and then you scroll it to the place where you want to drop, and then you release that the left click button of your mouse, right, to drag and drop. So now we have to simulate this exact thing, okay, using the actions methods that are available. Okay, so now let me take it back where it was earlier, or maybe let me refresh it once. Okay, so now I have to first of all inspect this object which I want to drag, right? The method is simple, it is very easy to use. So what I'll do is first I will identify this object, the source. Okay, source object is this id, right? So I would say uh, I would create an object web element and I would say source. Okay, driver dot find element by dot id. Okay, web element control shift o, right? Perfect. Then I would also create an object for the destination where I want to drop. Okay, by dot id again, right? And I would say drop. Okay, so I have the source and the destination. Now what I simply have to do is I have to use this action class object and use one method which says drag and drop web element source and web element target. Okay, so I already have this source and destination, correct? And that's it. Right? It works perfectly. Run it and we will see.
Rahul, dot perform you missed, Rahul.
Ah, yes, thank you. Yes, 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 yes. Correct. Okay, so let me show this that it doesn't work without dot perform. Okay. So by the way, next session I would probably cover a robo class tomorrow. I would cover the synchronization, fluent wait, explicit wait. Right. Till now we are using this hard-coded thread.sleep. Right. So we will cover what are the better ways of synchronizing. And then probably next week we can start with TestNG, Maven, and slowly we will kind of start on developing a framework. I will show you how to develop a framework using BDD Cucumber with page object model designed. Okay, so that is the plan. Uh, yeah, but for now, coming back to drag and drop. I don't know why this page is loading so slow. Okay, forget it. I'll close it. I will stop. And let me put dot perform first. Sorry, not here. Dot perform. Okay, so it is basically going to take the source, drag it to the destination where I have mentioned. Okay, that is the only thing, nothing else. Okay. Anybody has experience working on Cypress, by the way? Have you at least used or heard Cypress tool? That is something I'm.
Actually, I have
Haha.
yeah, I have not used the tool, but actually, if I'm not wrong, that tool will be used to test if for the JavaScript or something.
Yes.
I have a 3 year experience in Cypress.
Sorry, who's it?
Sanjay,
Sanjay, you have experience on Cypress, is it?
2 year experience in
Arey, very
Cypress.
good here. So you can take a session on Cypress here after the Selenium gets over if you're comfortable. Okay, by the way, this drag and drop has worked, right? You can see it has dragged and dropped it over here, correct? So
Yes.
this works fine. Yeah, so Sanjay, so if you have time, probably after Selenium, you can take a session on Cypress if you're comfortable. Because I myself am also learning. I'm actually
Yeah, yeah, sure.
keen to learn Cypress. I have recently enrolled for one, I think, Udemy course. It's very interesting tool, by the way, and it's very popular. It is getting popular now. Cypress with JavaScript. Okay, coming back to this, drag and drop has worked
Is
fine.
that open source?
Sorry? Yeah, it is open source, yeah, open
Is that
source.
free software?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I am a poor fellow here. I used all free softwares only. Selenium, Cypress. I can
Same here.
I cannot afford UFT, QTP, those kind of stuff. But anyways, jokes apart. But yeah, Cypress is good here. It has quite a good features that Selenium doesn't have. It is something that it is good to learn. Okay, so let me quickly cover one more thing. Hovering over a particular object. Okay, so again, basic stuff, no rocket science. There is this one method in action class. I'll show you that. Again, for this, there is one URL where I can show you this. Mm, this menu. Okay. So you will see a lot of these menus, right? Where you hover over it, then you can see a sub menu, and then again, if you hover a sub menu, you would see a sub menu, right? And then you can click on whatever that sub menu is, right? So for that, you have to, I mean, you can't say I dot click on this main item too, right? It will not work that way. So for that, hovering your mouse cursor on a particular element, there is this again a method which says act dot mouse sorry act dot move to element. Yeah, move to element, and you have to mention where you want to move. So again, it is simple. Driver dot find element, right? By dot id, let's say. Okay, so you would hover it over the main menu. Then similarly, you would also hover it over the sub menu which you want to hover, and then finally you can simply say driver dot find element by dot id again if it is unique, and you would say driver dot click find element dot click. Okay, so now we'll just simply add these attributes and we will execute. Simple, right? So those methods are already there, you just have to make use of it. So main item 2. Okay, so I think by.id will not work. So I have to use by.link text. Okay. Then I have to hover over the sub menu. So that will also be by link text. Okay. And then finally I have to click on the sub menu. So this is how it would work. By dot link text. Sorry. Okay, so you have understood this, right? What I've done using the same action class object, there is this method called as move to element. Okay, so basically whichever element you want to move your mouse cursor, you have to use this method, and that particular element details you have to mention over here driver dot find element, and then obviously you have to end it with dot perform. Okay, so these two menus I have to hover, and the final one I have to actually click, right? So click is obviously that you are already aware, right? So this doesn't change, it still remains the same, and then I will execute this and show it to you. Let me close the remaining browsers. You see, it has hovered over the main menu, hovered over the sub menu, and it has clicked on the sub menu. Okay, now you might wonder why the page didn't load after clicking on it, but that is how this particular demo page is. If you click on it, it is not taking you anywhere, even if you click it manually. Okay, so the script has worked fine. It has hovered over the main menu, sub menu, and then it has also clicked on the sub menu. Okay, so since it is a dummy application, there is no redirection after you click on this sub menu for whatever reason, but our script
UI
has
makes
worked
sense.
fine. No errors in the execution, and this is how you hover your mouse. Okay, and I will end today's session with the final one, which is getting the tool tip of a particular So you understand what is tooltip is, right? So when you hover your mouse on a particular element, and if you get a small kind of a message box which has certain text, okay, so if you want to do that, how would you do it? Basically the same way, you have to use that move to element method to hover your mouse on that particular object, and then you have to use the get text method of that particular object. So I'll show you that anyways. And after this, actually, there's one more action class related thing that I want to show that is more important, I would say. So let me quickly show you the tooltip one. Tooltip URL is tooltips. Okay. Okay. So now if you see here, there is this object, hover me to see. Okay, so if you move your cursor over there, you see you get this message, you hovered over the button. Okay, similarly over here, if you hover this edit box, you see a message which says you hovered over the text field, right? So same stuff here, you inspect this element, you get its attribute, and using the move to element, you have to move it over there. Okay, so I would say this tooltip button uh, by.id. I'm making use of the previous line that I had used. Okay, so navigated to this URL, move element to this particular element by.id which has tooltip button. Okay, and then next, if you see, I cannot inspect that particular tooltip, right? So how do I inspect that particular stuff? Okay, so if you remember again in our previous session, we had used a similar concept wherein you go to event listeners, expand this blur, remove whatever is there inside it, and now if you see, array, what happened? Okay, let me reload. Inspect. This is the thing. Blur, remove. Why is it not working here? Uh, yeah, now it is working, I think. Yes. So this is the object which you wanted to get the text of the tooltip, right? So earlier it was not able to inspect because it was, always vanishing when I tried to right click. So we went to event listeners and we inside that blur, we removed whatever was there inside. Then I was able to inspect this tooltip that was vanishing. And now I would be able to find this particular object. Okay, so I would say uh, driver dot find element by dot class name. This is the class name, and I would say get text. Okay, and I would print the tooltip text that is returned. Okay, so what I've done here is navigated to this URL. I hover my mouse over that button which has that tooltip. Okay, and then I have used that object which I want to extract that text from. So since I was not able to inspect that particular object which had that tooltip, in the event listener, there is this blur kind of an option which you have to expand and you have to click on all the remove button that are inside it. Then you would be able to inspect that particular element, and then using this attribute, you do a normal driver dot find element and then use the method called as dot get text to extract that value and print it. Okay, so very simple, just run it and we will see whether it is printing the value of the tooltip message. Okay, it has hovered it over there, and I think the execution must have got completed. Yeah, let me see if it has printed anything or not. Oops, why it has not printed here? No such element exception. Which one? CSS selector tooltip inner. Why? Why so? It is telling me that it is not able to find this object. Okay, let me use this XPath and see in that case. I don't know if it has any frames inside it. One second. Driver dot find element.
Oh, there's a iframe tag
Oh, is it? Is there an iframe? Even I was thinking there might be an iframe.
just over it.
Okay, but I don't think it is inside that iframe, by the way. But let's see. Let me copy the full XPath. We will get an idea. No, yeah, I don't think there is an iframe. I mean, I understand there is an iframe, but it is not falling inside that iframe, right? You see?
Okay.
You see, right? This iframe is somewhere else.
Hmm. Okay.
Tooltip text. Okay. Ideally, it should have worked here. Let me run this with this XPath and see. I actually wanted to cover one another important thing for this action class. So far what we have seen is how we simulate the mouse operation using action class, right? There is also a simulation for key press operation also. Okay, that is what I wanted to show you. Let's see first if this works. If this doesn't work, then maybe I will figure it out and I'll show you tomorrow about this tooltip that is giving an issue. Uh, but I wanted to show you the key press operations also using actions. The site is very slow sometimes. Come on, yaar. Okay, just hovered over it. Mm, I think it is still not working. Not able to find the no such element. Okay, anyways, guys, I'll figure this out and I'll let you know tomorrow why this element is not being able to identify. But the logic still remains the same. If you want to, get extract the text of the tooltip, first of all, you have to move that cursor using the move to element to that particular object, and then whatever message, that element contains that message, you need to identify that object and use .get text method to extract it. Okay, so now it is showing some no such element exception found. I don't know why, because it doesn't seem to fall under any iframe. I'll figure that out tomorrow and I'll let you know. But I wanted to cover one last thing, which was about how to simulate keyboard operation using action class. Okay, that is one thing which is remaining and which I want to show you quickly before I wrap up for today. Okay, so okay, driver navigate to, and there is this method text box. Okay, URL text box. So here what we are going to see is that we are going to see how uh, control A, control C works. Okay, so like for example, there is this two text box, I believe. Yeah, okay. So there is this two text box, generally what we see on online application form, right? So current address, if I say whatever value, and then what I have to paste in the permanent address is the same as the current address, right? So manually, if I have to do, what I would do is I would press control key. I will keep that control key pressed. Then I will press A. Then I will press C. So that is control C. Then I will press tab so that I move to the next edit box. And then I will do a control V. Okay, so this is what I have done manually. Okay, now I have to simulate the same thing using action class. Okay, you got my point, right? What we are trying to achieve. So let's quickly see that. Driver dot find element by dot id. First I would sample address. I would add certain value to the first text box before I copy the value from it, right? So I have to spy this object, inspect, okay, text area. I'm using the XPath for this, id equal to text area, sorry, not id, placeholder. Okay, so this is fine. XPath. Okay, so now first of all it will add some value over there, correct? Then what I need to do, I need to do a control A, control C, right? And then do a tab and then move to the next edit box. And then what I need to do is I need to do a control V, correct? So now how would I do that using action class? So action ACT, and you see over here we also have some options for key simulation, right? So what first I need to do is I need to do a key down. Okay, key down meaning you have to press a particular key and you have to keep it pressed. Okay, so which one is that? That is keys dot, sorry, keys dot, if you mention control, you will see a control key option mentioned over here. You can do anything, keys dot cancel or whatever, right? Whatever you want, you can do it. But in this case, we want control key to be pressed down, right? Control. Guys, you are with me, right? You are able to understand what we are trying to do, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So then by pressing the control key, what next I am trying to do is I also want to press A. Okay, how would I press A? Is by using normal send keys A, correct? So I have pressed that control key down, I have pressed send key A, okay? So once I do that, what next I have to do is I have to release that control key, right, which I had pressed for so long, isn't it? So then what I would say is dot key, just like how it is key down, there is key up as well, correct? So I would say now keys, which one I have to press, I mean release it, I have to release the control button which I have pressed for so long, okay? And then now you would see I cannot simply say perform, okay? Perform is for only one operation. If I have used, I can use perform directly. But now since there are multiple action methods that I have used, I have to first mention build, so that it will kind of build all the methods that I have used so far, and then finally I have to use perform, okay? Until now what we have seen is directly perform. Why? Because I'm just using one method of this action class. But now, as you can see, I've used a series of options, methods, like key down, send keys, key up. So then all of these should be combined together using this method as build, and then I would use a perform method to do that. Okay, so now control A has been done, correct? Now what next? I have to do a control C also, right? So that it gets copied. So same stuff, but now I would say instead of A, it would be C, correct? Then what I would do is I have to now click on tab, isn't it? So here, let's say I mention whatever value which I have wanted to add. I will do control A, then I did control C. I have to press tab so that I move to the next edit box, right? So for that, I would say ACT, correct? Dot, I can say send keys, okay? Because I will not use key up or key down here, because I don't want to press tab and keep it pressed for long, right? Just like how I had to do for control, right? So here there is no key down for tab. I would simply say send keys and keys dot tab, okay? And then I would say build dot perform, or I think in this case you can also use perform here. Mm, let's see. Let's try with build first, and then we will see for perform. And now what next?
But Rahul, this is
Yeah.
yeah, this is valid only for if we have a immediate next tab.
If it is, yeah, generally if it is not next, then probably what you can do is you can use a normal driver dot find element and you can say dot click. That also would work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And even if it is not immediately, if it say it is two tabs after that, you can use this twice, okay? That also should you can take a call accordingly. You can use driver dot find element dot click, you can use this send keys to perform the tab, okay, or whatever, okay? That is up to you. You can take a call as per time, place and circumstances. And then finally, again what I need to do is control V. Okay, so let's see if this works. I am going to launch this. You see, it entered sample address just once, but it copy pasted it twice in the other tab also. Okay, so now if I want to show you a little, just to kind of slow down a bit, let's see, I add 5 seconds wait time. Okay, and let's see now, because it executed so fast that probably you may have missed it. So basically what we have done here is we have seen how we can simulate mouse operation, meaning double click, right click, drag and drop, hover, correct? We have seen that how we can simulate this using action, the mouse operation. And now what we are seeing is how we can simulate the keyboard, uh, key press operations, which we can simulate using action class. So it can be control alt delete or tab or caps lock or whatnot, right? So everything can be possible using action class. Okay. Oh, this application sometimes gives headache. Let me execute once more.
Close all the tabs once.
Okay, let's do it. Guys, my net is fluctuating. In case you miss out on this network, um, just hold on. I would try to switch to a different network and I'll reconnect. But anyways, we are done with the session which I plan to cover. Of course, I wanted to cover robo class also, but I'll cover that anyways tomorrow. Okay. uh, are you listening, anybody there?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I thought my network went off. Okay, anyways, I think we will wrap up because it is executing. We saw that this particular sample address got copied twice, but just make a note of what we have done, right? So what basically we have done is we have used this action class object that we have created to simulate the key press operations. So key down is for those operation where we want that particular key to be pressed and continue to be pressed, right? So in this case it is keys dot control. Then what I need to do is I also wanted to press A. Okay, so press A, since I don't want to keep it pressed for too long, right? So it can be done using simple send keys. Then I used a key up to release that control, and then to combine all of these operations I use this build method, and then did a perform. Same thing I did for control C. Then I use send keys tab so that it navigates to the next edit box, and then I use the same control V operation and it copy pasted it in the other edit box. Okay, so this can be achieved using action class object. Robo class also simulates mouse operation and keyboard operations. So then you might ask, why do you need robo class if action class does the same thing? So the answer to that is robo would work for not for web edit boxes or web related stuff. It would work for window alerts. Okay, so if there is any window authentication alert that comes up or any other window related stuff which you cannot inspect by right clicking. Okay, so till now what we have seen is that all of them are web related objects which we could inspect using right click and whatever. So for window, we have this robo class which we can use to perform perform clicking on some certain object or entering certain values. That we will see it tomorrow. Okay, so we will end today's session, and we will connect tomorrow same time, and we will see the robo class stuff. Okay, we got a timeout exception because the page didn't load, but in the first instance we saw that it was working fine. Only thing that is pending today is that mouse over, why it is not identifying the object. That I'll figure out and I'll share it with you tomorrow. Okay, so thank you so much guys. I think we are almost half hour extra. We will connect tomorrow. Okay.